Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the #1 enemy of translucent plastic. It's too late. Random review is about to begin.
Before we begin, thank you very much to Nexus Rider for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for the support. Very, very appreciated. Keep an eye on the Patreon. There's going to be a few things changing and a few things added to it in the near future. Just as a heads up, I do want to do kind of a big refresh of the channel on a few things, and the Patreon is going to be one of them. There's a few things that I think need to be switched up. They'd be a little bit more fair to you guys. And you'll figure out what that is relatively soon. For now, we need to focus on the toys. And because I need to keep kicking this dead horse, we're going to talk about Astrotrains again and Hasbro's lack of ability to create a good one. So before you is, this is the MechFansToys Steel Ambition, which, because I can never remember third-party names, will be henceforth referred to as Astrotrain, because that's essentially what it is. And I have been talking this toy up in passing since the new 86 Astrotrain was revealed. So I feel like you need a little bit of context if you've never seen the toy, and we're going to see just how easy it is to create a decent Astrotrain. So here you see his shuttle mode, and it is very much inspired by his look in the cartoon, which is inspired by his look as a toy. Is it a perfectly shaped shuttle? No, it is not. It is blocky around the rim of the front section, and it does have some gaps going on in the rear. But that is, again, kind of akin to how the original one looked. Same as having what is totally not a panel of train wheels on the opposite side here along the side of the shuttle. You will ignore that for now. So, shuttle mode pretty much holds to what it's supposed to look like for Astrotrain. Looks a bit thick for a space shuttle, and is probably, like, form-wise, his weakest as far as, like, the original toy goes. We'll take off the guns, which can mount on the side, and that will give us a look at the clean version of the shuttle. Now, like many of the modern Astrotrains, you're going to spot the fact that he does have the same flaw in that the rear section is noticeably gappy and noticeably part exposy. I don't know other words to phrase that. I apologize for sounding like a 6-year-old for a moment. But this just seems to be like the usual trait here of we can't figure out how to make this work. Well, this toy seems to do everything with Astrotrain correctly otherwise. And this is technically third-party Legends scale. So, for instance, I still have the Dark of the Moon Deluxe Bumblebee. If I take this into the shot, you get a good idea of just how big this figure is. It's decently sized for something called Legends class. Yeah, I mean, I would call it like a little bit smaller than Classics Astrotrain, if you remember that version of the toy. But I feel like, to just kind of give away how this toy transforms a little bit, this chest really doesn't do anything aside from just holding on to parts that will become the shoulders. But like the overall like front side of the chest, I absolutely feel like on a larger, more budgeted toy, this would be able to double hinge or slide down in order to fill up this gap or fold down to the side to hide some of this. There are absolutely options that could be done if this toy was larger and had the budget to accomplish it. But that said, this still looks far, far better than any of the shuttles, Astrotrains that we've gotten from Hasbro. You know, it doesn't have gigantic pieces of bullet train over its wings. It doesn't have a bunch of like massive hollowed out gaps in the top. It's not the mess that the new one is. See, if we look to the back here, like it just kind of looks like Astrotrain is supposed to look. There's the thrusters, there's the top of the train that we intentionally ignore. So all that works pretty well. Hey, look, they even included a little block that fits on the underside so you can mount it onto a flight stand. Pretty neat. We can also take that off because it is just an accessory piece. So let's get this guy transformed and we'll start showing you just how different this is. So we unclip the wings and get those hinge down out of the way, we need to get the legs unclipped from each other so we can gain access to the insides. So from here, we're going to fold this little piece out, fold down that purple section, flip that in, and then this is going to have to rotate into position like so, because this is going to be the front of the train now. Do that on the opposite side. I'm trying not to transform it any more than I have to in order to make this work, so excuse me if it's a little bit messy, but hopefully you can still tell what is going on. That's the important thing. So flip that in, get that folded down like so, then get all this folded back. So yeah, it's all like double hinging to get the legs collapsed, so you just have to hinge it back where it came from. Just press it all back in together. Make sure these panels tab into these. If you're having clearance issues, that's probably what's doing it. So basically all I've done is switch around the parts on the front, and everything else went back together the way that it did before. So on this side, just to make sure everything is tabbed correctly together before we officially fold these panels down. And that is a step straight out of the original Astrotrain toy. And we fold the wings down like this. And that creates the sides of the train, just like so. Tab in, fold that down, and then the tips of the wings as well. And there's your train mode. And that's pretty simple, pretty quick and efficient. I mean, I guarantee you the new one is a lot more steps than that. Here, let me just make sure the cow catcher in the front is correctly clipped together. And yeah, like, that's a pretty solid train mode. It's got a little bit of gray showing through, but for the most part, yeah, that's pretty solid all the way through. It's got the nice boxy shape correct. They've got enough silver painted down the sides to convey the parts of the train, keep it looking a little bit more interesting. I do like a old school kind of like train. It's just a big, heavy machine. I'm not an enthusiast. I can't tell you what model train this looks like. I cannot tell you what engines I prefer. All I know is big, heavy thing, pull, weight, good. That's all I know. I just know I like the look of the machine. So I've always really liked Astrotrain's alt mode, even if it makes very little sense and poses no strategic advantage whatsoever. But it does look pretty good. You can see a lot of nice sculpted detail going on. They've painted the windows to point those out. The cowcatcher in the front. That's going to be the feet in the robot mode. Kind of a clever reuse of those parts. Yeah, if you see that, yeah, it's just his feet. But it's a clever reuse of those parts here. And yeah, it's still got the big jet engines on the back. Not gonna ignore that. Now, if you just need a place to store this little block, by the way, it does still slot into the same spot. So you can just leave it as like a secondary smokestack if you want to or not. Or to just fill in that gap. I will admit this does leave a little bit of gap in the top. Again, I feel like that's a minor sacrifice compared to everything else it's doing right as an Astrotrain. So, yeah, it doesn't roll or anything. At a larger budget and scale, this would absolutely have the room to make the wheels rotate. But again, I'm not going to really get picky about that because, yeah, this is a really nice looking train mode. And if we take it into robot mode, this is going to get so much nicer. So I'm breezing through I will admit, we're going through this mode pretty quick, even though I say, hey, it's a really nice mode. I really like how it looks. I can't say anything else beyond that. So we're just going to go straight into the transformation for the robot. So I'm going to open up some panels here to get the legs exposed, because this is going to double hinge outward. Make sure this is unclipped from these panels, which they connect here in the middle. So open that up to double click those. This out of the way, I can double hinge the legs out like so. Make sure these tabs are out, pointed forward, because these panels will have to tab into those to secure the legs together. Very modern transformation style step. We see that in Generations a lot. Fold these back down so it's nice and flat panel. And then split them open on all of the tabs, holding them together. Now, fold out the bulk of the vehicle mode to form the arms. This is the part that you cannot seem to figure out on the 86 version of Astrotrain. Just use the bulk of the vehicle so the arms don't look skinny, scrawny. I hate that look. Okay. With that out of the way, we fold the backpack up and then fold this panel until it's like that. That way it gets out of the way. Rotate it all the way down. When it's down here, you can rotate that back. It should, I believe, clip into this. It's got the gap for it, but on mine, it doesn't quite make that connection. It doesn't necessarily need it, so don't force it if yours does not do that. So that out of the way. Go ahead and make sure the arms are rotated into the correct orientation. Open up these purple panels in order to flip out the hands like that. I'll try to do one here on the other side without my fingers in the way so you can see what's going on. There we go. Close that. And look at that. There's your Astrotrain. Why was that hard? Why was that so difficult? I don't understand. I do not understand why that was so difficult. So yeah, this is how you do it. That's a really clean Astrotrain transformation, and that's a really good-looking Astrotrain in robot mode. That's really all I need to show you, right? Like, I don't need to, like, pontificate about this toy a whole lot. I just need to demonstrate, hey, look, this is an incredible range on this figure, and all it does is take the G1 Astrotrain transformation and just modernize it. And that's really all it needs to do. You don't have to reinvent the locomotive just to get an Astrotrain toy made. And I guarantee you that took like half the steps that the new one is going to take to transform. It's clean, it's efficient, it looks good in all three modes, and the one or two things that don't look good, a larger toy with more budget could absolutely fix. Beyond that, this is spot on. This is spot on. If this was bigger, it would be my ideal Astrotrain. Like, I don't need the shuttle to look photorealistic. I don't need the train to have zero gaps. I just needed to do the Astrotrain thing really nicely, and that is what this accomplishes. But for the sake of continuing the review, yes, it's a really nice, very well-proportioned Astrotrain. It does have the backpack in the back, but that's pretty standard, and that's pretty accurate to any depiction of G1 Astrotrain you are going to find. I do wish the wings could hinge backwards this way to get out of the way of the arms. They can hinge this way, and they do have a swivel here, so you can kind of get them out the way if needed. But yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Now, I want to admit, like, the joints on this one may be a little bit more loose than I would like, but this is secondhand. I don't know how much playtime this toy had with its original owner, so I'm not going to hold that against it for the sake of this review. If we want to talk articulation, ball-jointed head, plenty of range there. Ball-jointed shoulders, which do get caught up on these hinges here, unfortunately, but for the most part, most range is still there. Biceps are 360 degrees. Elbows are 90 degrees. Nothing at the wrist. We have a waist joint, and everything does stay out of the way. This one does clash a little bit if it's connected, but like I said, it's probably not going to connect on yours anyway, so just rotate it free. Just let it swing. It's going to be fine. Hips, yep. The skirt does lift up to give you more room for the hips to move. Thigh rotation is 360 degrees. Knee is a 90-degree bend. Ankle tilt is ball jointed, so it works in multiple directions. And this is just a really, really nice Astrotrain at a very nice, convenient size. And then, of course, yeah, we do have not one, but two of his super long rifles from the original G1 toy, which we can arm him with. I wish he had something else, but then again, I don't recall him having anything else. Maybe his Classics blaster instead, just for the sake of variety. But, yeah, in a nutshell, that's Astrotrain from MechFansToys. And that's pretty much all we ask of a modern Astrotrain toy. Everything works well. Everything feels like it's supposed to feel. All three modes look good. It's efficient. It's well thought out. And it doesn't do anything it doesn't try and just make it as complicated as possible. It doesn't overthink it. That's your issue with the 86 Astrotrain, is it looks overthought. You do not have that flaw here. Here is just a clean, really, really polished version of the original G1 triple changer. I like this one so much, I went out of my way to get his bro. So maybe we talk about the Blitzwing at some point as well. But for now, I'm going to leave you at this. This is like a little bit quicker of a review than you would expect from me on a triple changer. But I just wanted to demonstrate this is all we ask. This is all we ever really want. This is what we need. And it is not supposed to be as hard as it looks like Hasbro and Takara are making it. So there you go. That's how an Astrotrain is supposed to be done. And I will leave it at that. So thank you everyone for watching. And as always, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.